You have to understand, life is not forever. This game, every game ends. Most people think they're going to live forever, so they don't create a vision. Your greatest enemy right now is a scattered mind. When you're scattered, you're easy prey. So if you're not buying a product, you're the product. Explore you for your time, for your energy. Do you feel like you don't have clarity in terms of what you're doing, in terms of where you're going, in terms of who you're doing it with? Do you feel like life is good, but maybe your direction is not as clear? It's not as focused. And due to that lack of clarity, you're not getting the results that you want to get. And you're not creating the reality that you want to create. If that's the case, stick around because I'm going to cover exactly how to overcome that. And it's primarily one simple thing that if you did this one thing, everything else will become so much more clear. And what is that thing? Sometimes we tend to overcomplicate life, make it more complicated than it needs to be, but sometimes it can be incredibly simple. This one thing is vision. Do you have a good vision? If you don't have a good vision, everything else will be complicated. Everything. Why? Because a vision brings you clarity. It brings you unity and balance of mind. So let's talk about vision. What is vision? Vision is basically having a clear picture. These are not complicated concepts. It's basically having a clear picture of what you want to create with your life. What kind of reality do you want to create? And maybe a vision of even the mechanisms of how you're going to do those things. If you don't have that, you're a ship without a sail. You're wandering in the random flows of the ocean, pulling you from left to right, from the right to left, forward and backwards. You're a ship without a sail, without vision. Vision, if you're a boat in this ship analogy, vision is your sail. You're the boat. Without a sail, you're just wandering aimlessly. So you need vision. So, how do you create vision? How do you create a vision? Well, it's pretty simple. You have to ask yourself a couple of things. But for the most part, you have to ask yourself, what do you want out of life? You have to understand, life is not forever. This game, every game ends. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, my friend. I'm sure you've heard about it. But there's this little thing called, I don't know if you heard about it. I think they call it death. And it happens to all of us. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. You have to be, you have to understand that this game is going to end sooner or later. So, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to create in this beautiful, amazing game before the time comes? Most people think they're going to live forever, so they don't create a vision. They're just wandering aimlessly because they think that this is forever. Uh, But if you knew, if you were aware that there's an expiration date, if you have a can of beans and if you have a can of beans in in your cabinet, right, and you don't want to waste food, and you know that can of beans is about to go bad in a couple weeks, you would have a plan for it. Man, that can of beans is about to go bad. I don't want it to go to waste. What kind of meal can we make with it in the next couple of days? You would do that. Why? Because there's an expiration date. So number one thing why you don't have a number one reason why you don't have a vision is because you're not aware of your expiration date. If you knew your expiration date, oh, you would have a plan. You would plan out every single day for the rest of your life. You would plan every hour. You would have such a clear vision of the reality you want to create, of the life you want to live. Wow. You would have a vision so great that I'd be jealous of your vision. That's how clear it would be. That's how powerful it would be. Why? Expiration date. So are you aware of the expiration date? Now most people aren't. Most people ignore it. Most people shove it under the carpet because it's hard. It's not as painful. It's kind of sad, right? Society, we don't have a good relationship with our expiration date, right? But if you did, you would accomplish amazing things. and you would accomplish them in half of the time as well. Expiration date. So powerful. We think there's a quote, I might butcher it, but we overestimate what we can do in 3 years, but underestimate what we could do in 10. Something like that. Maybe butchering that quote, but you get it. Vision. So, okay, now that you know that you have an expiration date, let's get clear. Let's get to the fun part, right? Because life is supposed to be fun. Okay, if you do it right, let's get to the fun part. Let's create that vision. Look, let's make it practical. I want you to think of the top 3 things that if you had an expiration date, if you had a countdown, the top 3 things that you need to achieve before that expiration date comes. Going back to the beans analogy, the silly canned beans, right? If you know the expiration date is coming up in 2 weeks, what are the top 3 meals that you need to create with this before it goes bad? Same thing with you. What are the top 3 things you must, absolutely must, accomplish before the expiration date comes up? Write that down. Write those 3 things down. Right? Now, you could write it down on paper, but specifically, I want you to write it down on your phone. Everybody's best friend is their phone. We need this vision close enough to us. Write it down on your phone. Right now, here's the thing. Those top 3 things, every time you wake up in the morning, I need you to take 5 minutes and look at those top 3 things that you're going to look at before your morning starts. These are the top 3 goals, top 3 visions for your life that you must accomplish before that expiration date comes up. We can get more complicated with having a clear vision, but at least having 3 clear things that are super important to you that you must accomplish. And looking at that every single morning is going to frame your day, is going to frame your life to really prioritize, these 3 things. Why? Because there's an expiration date, right? And now that we have it written down on text, let's add a little bit of color to it. Let's shed a little bit of light to it. I want you to literally imagine, visualize yourself accomplishing, creating those 3 things. Not only creating the outcome of it, because it's easy. I'm not telling you some woo-woo stuff that, imagine that you're going to have $10 million and they're going to appear somehow. I want you to envision the end result. Yes, that's important. End result is good. But more importantly, I want you to envision the trajectory, the steps of action you're going to have to take to actually achieve those 3 goals. Because it's so easy to envision the end result and, imagine yourself, whatever's important to you, being in great health, being, being very wealthy. That's a good goal for many people. Or being very happy. That's an even more important goal for people. And a lot of people envision the end result, but they don't envision the process, the steps they're going to have to take to actually achieve that end goal. And that, in my opinion, when we're talking about vision, is even more important than the end result itself. Why? Because, and I want you to remember this, process is primary. Say that again. Process is primary. Process is primary. And, in our society, people are so outcome focused, outcome dependent. I want this. I want that. I want this end result. I want that end result. But nobody says, I want to work 6 hours a day, every single day for the next 3 years. And I want to do feedback every day and I want to do accountability sessions with a mentor. No, nobody says that. That's the hard part. But if you can fall in love with that part, not the end result, but the process of it, process is primary, remember, then that vision is way more likely to come into fruition. Say it again, process is primary. And on that note of vision, be very careful not to fall into just creating random visions for yourself, because not every vision is worth pursuing. Some visions are actually not worth pursuing. And a lot of times, We create visions that are just distractions, or we create a vision just because society told you that that's a good thing to have. Be very careful of the goals you choose. Because let me tell you something, not every goal is worth pursuing, putting those 7 hours, like I said, during the accountability sessions. You may choose goals that you may engage in the process with. You may do all the right things, but then when you actually achieve that goal, you realize, man, this was not the right vision. This was not the right goal. Why did I even pick this goal? So be very careful of the visions that you're choosing, because not every vision is worth pursuing. And many of the visions and goals and desires and dreams we have are not even ours. They're just given to us by someone. Whether it's the expectation of a parent that wants you to become a specific thing, or the expectation of society wants you to become a certain thing, and you're just following and you're succumbing yourself to the social pressures of the people and the environment around you to do things that you don't even want to do. You don't even care about that goal. Why did you choose it? Why did you work on it for 5, 10 years? For what? You know why you did it? Because you thought there was no expiration date. If you knew there was an expiration date, you wouldn't waste a second, not a single second. You wouldn't spend a millisecond chasing any goals, putting energy into anything that wasn't completely aligned with what you absolutely wanted, because there's no time, and you will take it that seriously, and you will tackle it aggressively and decisively, and undeniably you will take action towards the right thing, because expiration date. Expiration date. Clock is ticking. You wouldn't waste a second. And as I'm talking here about these concepts, these ideas, man, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm trying to think to myself, what am I spending a millisecond on that I shouldn't be spending? These videos are for you. I love talking to you. These videos are also for me. A little bit of self therapy here. And now I'm thinking, what am I spending time on? Self reflection. Now I'm thinking, oh no, God, what am I spending time on? It is an absolute complete waste of time. Actually, let me be just real with you. Let me think of some things that I'm doing right now that are a waste of time. That I'm not realizing that there's an expiration date. Wow, number one thing I would say is mad. Let me tell you something. Entertainment is so overrated. Entertainment is like this little candy that you eat. And sure, look, a little bit of candy is good sometimes. But entertainment is like this little candy that you eat that you get a quick little rush. But then your teeth are kind of like sticky afterwards. You know? Next thing, you go to the dentist, you have a cavity, spending your money on this candy. And after you eat the candy, you're still hungry. Because if you eat the candy and at least, satisfy your thirst to some degree, it would all be fine. But the funny part is that you'll eat it and you'll still be hungry afterwards. I think that's the most painful part. And I think I might be eating a little bit too much candy right now. I don't really eat it. I mean, my consumption of entertainment is fairly low. And there's a time to decompress. But man, there's so many things to do in life when you have an expiration date. So, I'll say this. Let's summarize a couple of the points. Number one thing, you need a clear vision. And this vision must not be given to you by society, your friends, your environment, your circle of influence. Grab a pen and paper, go into the woods, into the middle of nowhere, because it brings you clarity. And grab a pen and paper and write your vision down. What is important to you, not to somebody else? To you. Not what somebody else wanted you to do. To you. You. Yeah, you right there watching. What's important to you? Go into the wilderness. At least go into a park and write it down. Then create that vision. Create that list of 3 things that you're going to go over, that you're going to look at every morning. That's very important. Look at it every morning for 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes. Invest 5 minutes. You probably spend hours scrolling through your phone in randomness and chaoticness. Spend 5 minutes fighting the chaos and bring clarity to your mind, bring vision to your mind, bring unity to your mind. Because your greatest enemy right now is a scattered mind. And guess what? Businesses, corporations, systems, they want you to be scattered. Why? Because when you're scattered, you're easy prey. You're easy to manipulate you, exploit you, extort you, get the money out of you, exploit you for your time, for your energy. Nothing in life is free. So if you're not buying a product, you're the product. And there's many people out to exploit you. This is not a conspiracy theory. If you just read 2 pages of history, you would realize that this is one of the big games in life that is being played. If you would just read, not even a book, if you would just read a paragraph of anything of real substance, you would realize that this is the game. Not the only game, not to be like dark here, but that's one of the part of the games of humanity, of humans. Humans exploit, manipulate, extort each other for survival, for self-gain, for selfishness. All good. All good. I'm not judging it. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't hate either. I just learn the rules and play the game to the best of my ability. But if you just learn, if you just expose yourself to any real piece of information, you would realize that one of the games is being played here. And let me tell you, if you're not aware of this dynamic, I probably can't help anyway. If you're not aware of this, if you're not aware of this, it's probably too late. Or maybe not. Better late than never. So write that down, bring clarity, bring unity to your mind, and begin in your new journey of your new vision given to you by who? By yourself. Because there's nothing better than something given to you by yourself, not anybody else. In life, everything tends to be handed to us in some way, shape, or form, and we just follow it. But wow, what kind of life would it be if you can create your own destiny, if you can create your own vision, if you can create your own reality, and you can say, this is my own. Nobody wanted me to do this. This is not coming. This is not an external force coming from the outside in, pushing me, forcing me to do this. I have to do this, extrinsic motivation. No, this came from within, man. This came from within, man. This is pouring out of me. I'm not being pushed to do this. You know, I'm being pulled to do this. This is coming from within. And nothing feels better than operating when something comes from within, because then life becomes effortless. It's not about you pushing or working through something. That's no longer important. Now the vision is important. And that's what pulls you. So focus on that and continue to focus on that. Even though it's not always going to be specifically pleasant, but you just have to keep grinding. And over time, it will work itself out. Even when times get dark sometimes. This is not always going to be easy. But if it was easy, then it wouldn't be worth it. So continue to push it. Write down that vision. Execute on it. Ignore everybody else. And let's talk in 3 months. Tell me how you're doing. I'll see you.